a bunch of electoral votes, ideally. Mo, great to see you.
You too.
Almost there. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton locked in a high-stakes game of chess over a couple of key swing states that could decide it all come Tuesday night. Two of the country's top political analysts are next on the latest numbers from those hotspots. Plus, Steinwalt is here. Look at that picture. Doesn't it just make you love him? With a state-by-state cheat sheet for election night and when we could know, when we're likely to know who has won the White House. Just 2 days until we are sitting on this very set reading you results as they come in. Can you believe it? And Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are trying to close the deal with campaign stops that no one saw coming this late in the game. Tomorrow, Trump travels to Michigan and Pennsylvania. The choice turning heads because Mrs. Clinton is polling comfortably ahead in those states. But Clinton is also campaigning there, showing her team also realizes how important it is to block Trump. Politico noting in a column over the weekend that along with victories in North Carolina, Florida, and Ohio, two paths to victory for the New York businessman must include winning either Pennsylvania or Michigan. We've got Rick Leventhal live in Pennsylvania tonight, but we begin with our chief political correspondent, campaign Carl Cameron, live in Sterling Heights, Michigan. Carl?
Hi, Megan. Well, just as Mitt Romney's electoral college map in 2012 has to be matched by Donald Trump, and he has to get some blue states. If Barack Obama's 2012 results are what Hillary gets, she wins. The Trump campaign is painfully aware of that, and today, every single state that he was in, including where he woke up and where he will go to bed, is a blue state won by Barack Obama. He was in Colorado last night, so that's where he got up this morning. And today, he's visited Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan. He's on his way to Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania now, and then there'll be another rally after that in Virginia. All of them states won by Barack Obama. Why is he going to these places as opposed to nailing down North Carolina, a red state he has to defend, or Ohio, a red state he has to defend? Because he desperately needs to find those blue states that he can actually pull off a victory in. Pennsylvania's been a little bit rough. Florida is still a tie. But the Trump campaign believes they've got what they refer to as an undervote swelling. Not registered in the polls, not recognized by the media, but the great silent majority is how Trump has described it already, that those people are beginning to show up at the rallies, that the momentum continues to grow, and that the media and the opposition just don't see how enthusiastic the Trump supporters are as compared to the Clinton folks. It was a huge rally tonight in Detroit. The event had seating for 8,000, and then there was an amphitheater lawn in the back, and it was packed, so that's 15,000 plus. The Trump campaign says that that's about what they had in the earlier events today, and they expect that same sort of turnout to happen in Pittsburgh and Virginia tonight. So Trump's field organization, his ground game, has often been compared as something lesser than what the Clinton campaign has. But what they think they do have is momentum and that undervote that they think is beginning to bubble over, and they hope will take them right over the top on Tuesday. Megan?
Carl, thank you. Joining me now, co-founder and publisher of Real Clear Politics, Tom Bevan, and Republican pollster and Washington Examiner columnist, Kristen Soltis Anderson. Great to see you both. So let's just talk about Pennsylvania first and whether that is a pipe dream for him, because that is the easiest course for him, Tom. If he can shore up Florida, win Ohio, which he's favored to do, pull out a victory in North Carolina, then add to that Pennsylvania, then he likely has it, right?
He would definitely have it if he won those states and he picked up Pennsylvania. And this is a state, excuse me, that Republicans every 4 years, they think they've got a shot in Pennsylvania. It never pans out. Although if there was the potential for Republicans to win it this year, it might be Donald Trump. And the way that these candidates are really slicing the electorate in really sort of deep, different ways, with Trump running extremely well among working class white voters, men in particular.
That's assuming that Trump holds all the states that Romney got, including Utah, Georgia, and Arizona, where he has some vulnerability, but those numbers too have been looking better for him. Kristen, all right, so Pennsylvania, first of all, just quickly, does he have a realistic shot there?
I don't think it's particularly realistic. I think if you look, Pennsylvania is perhaps demographically one of those states where you've got a lot of these working class voters in the middle of the state, very, very ripe Trump territory. But because of his struggles with college-educated voters, suburban women, that's the folks that are going to decide this. They're living in those counties right around Philadelphia, and they're going to make it much harder for
You're
him.
not feeling it. Okay, so let's say Trump has 253 electoral votes. He's got Ohio, he's got Florida, he's got North Carolina. He needs to find the extra 17. So Pennsylvania is lost in this imagined scenario. So now he's looking over at Michigan. He gets Iowa, which he's favored to win in right now. Even the Clinton camp admits he's ahead in Iowa, which is 6. Now he's looking over to the beautiful state of Michigan, which we were just discussing. And Michigan has 16 electoral votes. So that could do it. I mean, 6 plus 16, that'd do it, Kristen.
It certainly could do it. And the fact that the Clinton campaign is also there or trying to have a presence in Michigan at all suggests to me maybe this isn't just a Trump campaign head fake.
And they're bringing everyone, Hillary, Bill, Michelle, Barack, our first lady and our president, all going to Michigan tomorrow.
Yeah, where a candidate spends their time, I think, sends a really interesting signal about what they're seeing internally in terms of their strategy. And look, a state like Nevada was one that originally was in the mix as a must-win for Trump. I looked at an analysis this morning that showed how each county across the country is going to perform relative to 2012. There's a big blue stripe across the Sun Belt. Places like Nevada, they're just going to be more Democratic than they were 4 years ago. But that upper Midwest, that Rust Belt area looked red. It looks as though there's a chance Republicans do better. Michigan's a state where you have a Republican governor. I still think it's very likely that it's a Clinton state. But it's interesting to me that this isn't just the Trump campaign saying it's in play if the Clinton folks are actually showing up on the ground.
I want to correct myself. All those heavy hitters are going to Philadelphia. So it's those two states that are coming most in focus, Pennsylvania and Michigan. So, Tom, do you think that they're adequately, allocating their resources? Because we heard Campaign Carl tell us that Trump's also going to Colorado. He's going to Minnesota. He's going to Virginia. Does he have a realistic shot in those states?
Well, I think the reason they're focused on Michigan and Pennsylvania, 2 reasons. Number one, there's no early voting in both those states. And given where the Clinton folks had early voting, sort of disappointing results in Florida and North Carolina, they want to make sure that they are energizing African-American voters in Detroit and Philly. The other thing that these 2 states have in common, they don't have a lot of Latino, Hispanic voters, which is what has been propelling Clinton in Nevada and some of these other places. And so you put those 2 things together, and Clinton is running about 5 points behind where Barack Obama was running in Michigan in 2012. She's about 2 points behind where he was in Pennsylvania at the same point in time. And that's why you have both campaigns focused on these 2 states here in the final 48 hours.
Wow. And no early voting, so it all comes down to Tuesday. Great to see you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll find out when Dana Perino, Tucker Carlson, and Julie Roginski join us next. Quick break. Don't go away. Breaking tonight, a dark new picture of the mood of the American people just days before they go to the polls. A new CBS News New York Times poll showing 82% of the electorate saying the 2016 campaign has made them more disgusted with the American political system. 82% are feeling disgusted. Dana Perino is a former White House press secretary for President George W. Bush and co-host of The Five. Julie Roginski is a Fox News contributor and a Democratic analyst. Tucker Carlson's editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller and the newly announced anchor of the 7 p.m. show. We're saying that out loud now, right?
I hope so.
Okay, yay! There's no turning back now. Okay, good. Okay, so I wasn't surprised to hear that. I don't know. Were you surprised to hear that?
No, I wasn't surprised to hear that. I wasn't surprised by the New York Times poll, but I was trying to think, like, if I were to say on the bright side, 82% of us agree about something. And that is that we're ready for the election to be over.
But you feel it. I have to say, you feel it on the streets. You feel it at the cocktail parties. You feel it in going out to dinner with friends. Just this malaise that's overcome people about this election. Wrong?
Oh, yeah. And dividing not just the country, but families and friends.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you're such a good person to see the bright side in this. Like normally, in a normal year, this would help the insurgent candidate, and it would hurt the incumbent. Hillary Clinton's, in effect, the incumbent. She's running as a 3rd term, really, of President Obama. And so it would be a no-brainer that this kind of voter discontent would help Trump. The wild card in this is Trump himself. And you heard it in this focus group. There are people who say he's morally disqualified from running. And so it does make it much more complicated than it would normally be. But in any other year, it would not even be close.
And then you have, like, by-the-minute news breaking that bums people out further, right? Like, even today, Jen Palmieri, the communications director for Hillary, came out and said, if WikiLeaks drops something else, it's like
probably
some whopper. It's definitely, almost certainly, like, highly likely fake. And so that may or may not work, but the drip, drip, drip of WikiLeaks and the FBI and Trump and the women, and it just bums people out.
And who are these 18% that disagree with this finding? That's what I want to know, except for Dana Perino, who tries to find the good in everybody.
Yeah.
Who are these 18%? National Geographic came out with something over the summer that said this year is going to be 1 second longer than normal years. And I felt like I can't have this election go on 1 extra
How about
second.
today, losing an hour?
An hour.
Today added
over.
an hour to the, I mean, I guess gaining an hour.
This dumpster fire needs to end. I think we can all agree in a
But
bipartisan
what does
fashion.
it mean for governing, right? Because somebody's going to win on Tuesday,
Right.
we hope, right? We hope it's not another Bush v. Gore. What does it mean for governing that this person will go into office with a disgusted, angry electorate?
Well, can I say one nice word about the election?
No.
I actually think I do. I
Is it
think
the 18%?
it's raised issues that were not raised, at least in Washington, where I live. Nobody debated immigration or trade. There was a consensus bipartisan. No, they didn't. I've been there my whole life.
Not in
Nobody,
this way.
They did not.
But it's been so ugly. That's
It's been
what people are
horrible. I mean, I'm not
responding to.
defending that part. It's disgusting. But there are issues that undergird all of this, and they have been sort of downplayed in favor of personalities, but they're still there, and that's meaningful.
Back to my question. What does it mean for the next president?
I think that two things have to happen. If you look back to the final Supreme Court decision and when Al Gore came out and gave his concession speech, it was considered to be largely to be gracious.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a very
that
hard-fought
sets
battle.
a tone. It doesn't mean that all the other Democrats did, like Dick Gephardt was not necessarily in that category, but Al Gore himself did. First call that George W. Bush makes when he gets into office is to Ted Kennedy, and then to George Miller, 2 Democrats, and then by May, they were able to get the Bush tax cuts passed with a third of the Senate.
Didn't he do his first remarks like from the Texas State House with the Democrat next to him? He
had a pretty bipartisan world in Texas. Actually, that was not unusual. So for either of these two candidates, I think that their posture for win or lose is really important, and they wanted this opportunity, and now they have I think the responsibility to try to bring people together.
Do you agree with that, Julie?
I do, and what concerns me is that you do have a candidate who's not necessarily saying he's going to concede if this election doesn't go his way. I think that is such a threat to our democratic way of life. We're not a third world banana republic. We have elections that have consequences. You win or you lose, and if he loses, I hope he does the right thing and concedes.
And his word is very powerful. I tried to get that with him in the interview that I had with him, the longer one. His word to his supporters is gospel.
Yep.
And so if he doesn't say, if he loses, that I lost, the chances of them accepting it, you tell me.
No question. They're not going to. A lot of them won't. And I think that's very damaging to our democracy. Again, I implore the people that follow him to understand that in case it doesn't go well for them on Tuesday night, it may or it may not, but if it doesn't go well for them on Tuesday night, they have to accept the fact, as I hope a lot of Democrats, including me, did when it didn't go our way in 2000, we have one president at a time. If he doesn't get elected, she'll be president. You cannot delegitimize her election.
Well, what about, go ahead, Tucker.
If you care about people buying into the system, and we should, because that's a prerequisite for democracy, you need, as a first principle, to safeguard the integrity of the democracy. Like, what's the lesson? The lesson is, if there's flakiness in our electoral system, we ought to fix it. We ought to make certain. I mean, a kid in my neighborhood who's 16, in my daughter's class, just got a voter ID card from the District of Columbia tonight. So I'm not saying that's like in every town in America. I'm just saying that's unacceptable. And if you want to reassure people it's on the level, make sure it is.
What do you think Trump will do if he doesn't prevail? Because there have been so many reports that he might really be looking to launch a TV channel or do something with his, fervid support, that he has from so many people. So if that's true, does it benefit him to come out and say, I lost, let's support her? Or does it benefit him to come out with the rigged, the system, drain the swamp? What do you think?
Well, I don't think he's giving himself enough credit for doing what Tucker was talking about, which is exposing some very real policy problems that we have in the country, especially for the white working class. Joe Biden will say that the Democrats have forgotten them. They will say that the Republicans have forgotten them too. They looked at Donald Trump and say, there at least is somebody who is listening to us. On a campaign stop today, he said, if I don't win, then the movement ends right there. I don't think that that is true. I think that what he has done is actually quite powerful, exposing a lot of problems that both parties, no matter what side you're on, are going to have to deal with.
And he'll find a way to harness that energy. Last question, Julie. If she loses, we expect her to come out and concede. She's definitely going to run again every 4 years until she dies, right?
I think this is it.
Is this your get out the vote message for Democrats to say that you better get her in now, or else people
I
are
don't
going
think
to see
she'll
her
run
in 4 years?
again.
No, I don't either.
No.
It's a powerful threat, though.
It is a great threat. Vote for her, or else you're going to be living with this for the next 30 to 40 years.
Great to see you all.
Thanks, Megan.
Still ahead, Steyerwalt is here with his state-by-state cheat sheet for election night and when we could know who wins the White House. Welcome back, everybody, to our special Sunday night live edition of the Kelly File in advance of Election Day. Live here in our new election studio, where we have dozens of high-tech tools, look at this, to help keep you better informed more quickly.